Hate this jack. One feels like trash. Welcome back to another video. This time I'm going to be servicing the rear brakes. So I already have the pads. They're up on the workbench there. First thing I'm going to have to do is pop the lid off this just to take all the pressure out of the system. Next, after that, we're going to have to drop the pads out of this and we'll just go on from there. Almost forgot. Really, the first thing we got to do is play with my favorite thing here. I absolutely hate this jack, but I absolutely need to use it. So, watch me struggle. As usual, I've got my safety Crocs on. So, like I've said before, when it comes to these Phillips heads, you always want to grab the biggest bit that will fit in there. Go. Perfect. Man, that looks super clean. I'm gonna pull some of this brake fluid out with a syringe. That way when I compress the pistons, just like on the fronts, it's gonna force fluid back in the reservoir. And by pulling some of this fluid out, it's gonna lower the possibility of anything overflowing. So if we have a look inside the syringe here, you can see there's no particulates or contaminants really floating around inside that, so I have no problem putting that back in the bike. Next up, we're going to pull out this slider pin here. We got my putty knife handy here, and I'm just going to try to work that in behind that pad, or sorry, between the pad and the rotor. So after I kind of played around a little bit here, you can see I got my putty knife in there. This one's going to be a little bit tricky with these spoke wheels. And here comes that screw. Retaining spring right there. So this is the top of the caliper here. These are our brake pads. We've got the inner and the outer right here. Oh, you saw that that inner already dropped. So with that retaining spring out, these should just pop out. Like I'm gonna have to push on them a little bit. I need to figure out where I'm at. There we go. Top loader, look at that. So this is the inner. It doesn't really appear to be in bad shape. Looks like it's got plenty of life left. I probably don't need to replace these, but I'm going to because I bought new ones. Here's the other pad. Let's see what kind of story this one has to tell. I'm not sure if the glazing over is normal or if that's from heavy braking. Feel free to tell me in the comments there. But yeah, this pad also looks like it's got quite a bit of life left to it. I mean, if I really needed to, I could probably run these again, but I'd rather have a matching set of pads. Same as tires. I'd rather have a matching set. So we're going to pull these backing plates off these pads, clean them up, get them put on the new pads, and we'll drop the new pads into the caliper. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this paint mixing stick and stick that in between the rotor and the piston. And then I'm going to take my pry bar here. I'm just going to push in. And kind of what the intent here is that any sort of like scarring or like marks or anything that I'm going to make is going to be in the wood. I know that I'm prying off the disc, which is probably not the best idea, but it definitely beats scratching the piston. Flush. Perfect. And here I'm doing the same for the outer piston. We'll see how that worked. Nice. Flush. Oh, those are really on there. I just need to be 1% smarter than it. I'm just really struggling for that 1% right now. Oh, there we go. See how much I need to struggle for that 1% again. Apparently quite a bit. Here we go. right, we get these cleaned up, a little bit of brake cleaned, and mount them to new pads. I'm going to clean up this pin now. All right, that feels pretty smooth. I'll hit that with some more brake clean and wipe it down, and we'll be ready to start putting stuff together. All right, let's pop open these new pads. Nice, lots of meat on that. So I should just be able to drop these on the clips and move on from there. There we go. All right, let's head back over to the bike. All right, let's drop in these pads. One. Oh, come on. Two. There we go. So this edge right here of this spring retainer goes towards the bleeder. The spring retainer in. Got one. And that's got to go over the spring retainer. Push down so we don't ruin that little O-ring. Now I'll get in behind here and I'll push this other pad up and in. Pushing that pin. There we go. I'll run this in. Torque for this one is the exact same as what it is on the front. We're just waiting for that nice click. There it is. We go back over to the master cylinder on the other side. Snug those up just a little bit. Just enough so when I hit the brake pedal, nothing comes out the sides. So once I pump the pedal, that is going to send all of that brake fluid that went back into the master cylinder, back into the lines, and back into the caliper. So the first few pumps are going to feel like absolute trash. So we got 1, feels like trash. 2, still feels like garbage. 3, nothing. 4, okay, we got a little bit of something. 5, yeah, that's perfect. Alright, so now we're going to pop this cover off for the last time. I'm sure there's going to be some people that say that that's not good practice, not what they would do. Guess what? This is my bike, and I'm going to do what I want. There goes the fluid right back in. I'm assuming that the torque for these is probably the exact same as the top, which is 9 to 17 inch-pounds. And I do not have a torque wrench that goes that low. Also, 9 to 17 inch-pounds isn't very much. It's basically a little bit more than finger tight, which is pretty much what I'm going to do here. And there we go. Check the pedal again. Perfect pressure. Torque verification here. So our pin was 131 to 173, just like the front. Did it at 170, so we're good. And the master cylinder reservoir cover screws, just like I figured, same as the front, 9 to 17 inch-pounds, which is just a little bit more than finger tight. So I'm more than pleased with how tight I have those screws. Another one of my least favorite parts, I'm getting this bike off this stupid jack. Someday I will have one of those lift tables, but right now it's too expensive. Oh, wrong way, some stupid. And we'll drop her down. Make sure we're good over here. Yep. Drop her down all the way. There we go. Back on her own weight. Oh, here we go. Well, feels like the rear brakes are working. There we have it. That's the end of how to do your rear brake pads. There's pretty much no reason why anybody with a socket set and a little bit of willingness to learn or try things out can't do this in their own driveway, garage, parking lot, whatever. I think we only have one thing left to do here.